Hey folks, welcome to Unqualified, the fantasy football podcast that's been criticizing your aesthetic since 2017. I'm your producer, Rob Sneeze&Cough, here with Hot Johnson and Porn Brady, two fantasy football rivals that have been sabotaging each other for years, but they decided to come together and help you.
Sneeze&Cough, nice job on the intro.
Did you say Rob Sneeze&Cough?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god. Oh, fuck.
Sabotage your teammate. No, what? Oh. We're going to skip that.
You gotta. I need
Sabotaging
something
each
that
other for
rhymes.
years. That's what you're looking for. Sneeze and
Yep,
cough.
you're going to make your friends look like idiots. Okay, how's it going, guys?
Great. How are you? You sneezing and coughing?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm sneezing and coughing. I'm not really sick, but it's just lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
I just like to point out again that my name was said first before Sean's again.
Yeah, I decided Scott's better.
Rob's playing
It's fine.
favorites.
You can enjoy that while it's the little things.
Hot
I
Johnson's
guess.
hot right now, so I'll make his name go
Tonsils.
first.
He's so hot right now. Yeah, it's just giving us dirty looks. Yeah, it's going well though. Week 6 is in the books. How's it going for you, Rob? How are you?
Terrible. Really bad.
Why?
I just keep getting crushed.
Yeah.
And then I traded somebody for Cam Newton, and then I just had him sitting on the bench.
Yeah, who are you playing this
And
week? You're
I
playing
was
me.
in Canada, and I just wasn't even paying attention. I just let it go.
A little sabotage that I did. I did not tell you that Cam was on your bench before the Thursday night game.
Sean
I
texted
let him
me
know
and
on
reminded me
Saturday.
to change
You
my lineup.
piece of shit. Are you kidding me, Sean?
At least I have one friend that cares about me.
He still had
not-
Eli
I'm playing
in, so I
you. I'm
told
not
him.
gonna
I just
tell you
told him
to
to.
lineup.
He
Jerk.
made a trade. I told him to get the guys that he traded for in his lineup because
You
otherwise there's
asshole.
no point in making the trade.
I thought you were going to play Odell Beckham this week. Honestly, I was looking at your lineup like Sunday morning. I was like, yes, easy win.
I hate you.
All right, that's rude.
I just
But
did the
thanks.
quick math. It looks like Rob's in 2 leagues with us. He's going to be a grand total of 3 and I think 9. Is that how it
Ooh.
work?
Oh
Ugh. Have you been
Yeah, that's
listening to
pretty
the
bad.
podcast?
Does that make sense? 3 and 9.
no!
6 weeks.
Yeah,
it is.
6
That's
weeks.
12 weeks. 12 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Have
3 and 9.
you been listening to us all these weeks we've been doing this?
It's hard to absorb the information when I'm right inside the action.
I just don't think you're listening to us, but maybe you should start doing that.
I'm not.
Well,
I'm not.
all right, we'll go from worst to best record. So my
Look.
record in 6 leagues, it's looking like 23 and 13.
Oh, 6 is too many. That's
6 is way too many. I have to cut that down significantly, but I'm 5-1 in 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. We'll see after tonight. It hinges on DeMarco Murray on Monday night, and then 3-3 in 2 of them, and then 2-4 in another. So 23 and 13.
yeah. I mean, your name might have came first. You might have been called Hot Johnson, but I am red hot
Yeah,
in
you're
fantasy
scalding.
football to start the year. I'm about to cap off a 4-0 week in my 4 leagues, and I'm going to be 19-5 for the season. This is by far, don't get me wrong. This is the best start I've ever had in fantasy football, probably in each of my teams. I don't think I've ever been. There's a couple of years where I went, like 10-3 or something like that. But right now I'm like I'm on pace for an unprecedented year. So keep listening to what I say. Don't listen to anybody else on this podcast because
I can't.
it's just not
wait.
working out too well.
I can't wait until you go on like losing streaks for like 4 weeks in a row.
Oh,
It's gonna be
God.
it's gonna be amazing.
Oh, I know it's coming.
Just shove it right in your face.
Just going to call you Sean Braggy from now on.
Yeah, brag it pants. That's why you
All
said
right,
his name
Sneeze&
second.
Cough.
What a loser.
What a show off. Anyway, so overall takes, some hot takes, if you will, of week 6 for me. Running backs are back. So we always talk about it's a passing league, and it definitely is a passing league, but the way I see it, pass catching running backs are still the way of the future. So he had unbelievable performances all around the board for running backs. Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, Melvin Gordon, Adrian Peterson, Jerk McChicken,
Jerk my chicken, baby.
yeah. Carlos Hyde, they all had phenomenal games this week. And I mean, a lot of it is due to their pass catching prowess. So, in a league where passing is key, these guys are going to be on the field 3 downs. You really want them on your team. Tight ends, besides Gronk, besides Kelsey, besides Zach Ertz, I'm seeing they're not as involved in passing games as in previous seasons. So I think it's, due to a lot to running backs and their their pass catching prowess, and especially this year, it's been an unbelievable year for running back so far.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this week and kind of just the first 6 weeks as a whole is I feel like we kind of like tend to forget that the way you construct your roster week to week is almost as important, if not more important, than how you construct it during the draft. A lot of teams, a lot of guys like really tend to focus on the draft and then kind of set their lineup and forget about it. But teams so far this year that picked up Deshaun Watson, Chris Thompson, Chris Hogan, Evan Ingram, those teams all got top 10 options at their position through 6 weeks. So remember for next August, this is huge, okay? Because obviously the season's still going on, but it's never too early to kind of adjust your fantasy football strategy. When you draft upside, because even if you miss guys that you take a big swing on, you can, and they flame out, you can drop them and pick up trendy pickups and just hope you get lucky. You don't want to be stuck with a team full of Frank Gores and Brandon Marshalls, because that's the worst thing in the world. You can't drop them without feeling bad. You can't play them and have any confidence. It's, you don't want a team of guys with a capped upside, so take guys with high ceilings.
All right, let's talk about injuries from week 6, headlined by Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay quarterback had a broken collarbone, likely out for the season. That's a huge blow to that team.
Yeah, this is like the another huge name, possibly the hugest name in the NFL that's gone down in the last couple of weeks. We had J.J. Watt, Odell Beckham go down. This is
Dalvin
just
Cook.
getting crazy. Dalvin Cook, yeah, it's getting crazy at this point.
Yeah, Rodgers, it's likely out for the year. He's going to probably have surgery. I think they scheduled it today for this week. Today's Monday. They have Brett Hundley now, UCLA quarterback. He's been in the league a couple of years. He's been in that system. He did throw 3 picks on Sunday, but did have a touchdown to Devontae Adams. I don't think it changes Adams' value, but I think it does change Jordy's value a pretty good amount. Bennett might be a solid tight end 2 or low end tight end 1 now as a safety valve. Hopefully Montgomery gets a little healthier and they run it. Maybe Aaron Jones will split carries more, but that's a huge blow to Jordy and that team in general.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think Jordy is the biggest, has the most downside from this injury, just because so much of his value just comes from his chemistry that he has developed over a span of however many years with Aaron Rodgers. I think we saw it right away this Sunday. Once Rodgers went down, Jordy was less effective than Adams. I don't know. I'm not really feeling great about any Packers at this point. Even Devontae Adams, just because defenses are going to play them much differently with Rodgers out.
Right. A couple others. Jameis Winston had a sprained AC joint. He's day to day, so he's going to throw later in the week. Hopefully he'll be good for Sunday, but get a backup plan just in case. And then Trevor Siemian had a left shoulder injury during the game. Returned to the game, but he has an MRI today. We don't know the status yet, so keep on the lookout for him. And then 2 other quarterbacks. Andrew Luck, shoulder surgery in the offseason, just got to practice this week, so be on the lookout for him. He might be could be in your lineup in a couple of weeks. And then Teddy Bridgewater, throwback there, quarterback.
Don't laugh. You better not laugh at the comeback. Teddy Bridgewater, baby.
He came back to practice this week too, so keep an eye on him.
The Vikings suddenly have like a wealth of quarterback talent.
They do.
Between Bradford, Case Keenum, and Teddy Bridgewater. Obviously, none of those guys are like, top notch, franchise quarterbacks, but all 3 can get the job done. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a couple of running backs. Leonard Fournette sprained his ankle. He looks to be set in week 6. He came back in the game, but he did look a little hampered, so he should be good. And a couple of wide receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, sprained ankle. He will miss week 7, so get him out of the lineups. That was a tough one, but he did have an okay game up until that point. Tyreek Hill had a concussion scare, but reportedly does not have one, and he should be good in week 7. And then Golden Tate, the wide receiver on the Lions, had a shoulder injury late in the game, so should be good, but keep a lookout. If he can't go in week 7, Marvin Jones should be should get a boost in value. And then this one, Patrick Peterson, Arizona cornerback. So we talk about offensive players, but Patrick Peterson is a shutdown cornerback. Pretty much shuts down one side of the field. He has a quad injury, and he might be hampered going forward. So any wide receiver playing against him, maybe a little boost in value there.
Yeah, instead of really just kind of writing guys off when they play the Cardinals, or wide receiver ones off when they play the Cardinals, I'm not quite as scared now, even if Peterson does play, because he's a little nicked up.
All right, let's talk about blue chip guys for week 6. These are guys that won you your week and their values. We're going to tell say their values moving forward as well. But player of the week, Melvin Gordon, Los Angeles Chargers. Got to get used to saying that. Running back. 25 rushes, 83 yards, a touchdown. In the receiving game, he had 9 catches off of 12 targets for 67 yards and a touchdown. Good for 26 standard points, 35 PPR points. It looks like a top 5 option at running back.
Yeah, he's the guy that makes their offense go, and when he gets going, the rest of the guys, it's just easier for them. So I would look for guys like Keenan Allen to really start breaking out in the next couple of weeks, thanks to Melvin Gordon.
I love the sheer volume that Melvin Gordon gets. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because I have him in 2 leagues, and I love seeing him he got 34 touches. He had more targets. He had 12 targets. It's unbelievable. All right, let's talk about quarterbacks now. Quarterback blue chips for week 6. Kirk Cousins, 330 yards passing, rushing touchdown, which is a little wonky, but 27 points. Looks like a QB1. Deshaun Watson, 225 yards passing, 3 touchdowns again. He's on to a historic start here. And,
he is a mainstay.
Points.
He's a mainstay in the QB1 discussion.
Oh, yeah. He's
absolutely
QB1.
Phenomenal.
Top 10. He's unbelievable. Carson Wentz had 222 yards, 3 touchdowns on Thursday nights. Looks like a QB1 as well, maybe a low-end guy. And then Carson Palmer, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. QB2 still, but pretty good game. Cam Newton did have 3 interceptions, but had 11 rushes for 71 yards and a touchdown. So, again, QB1. Who are you taking out of all of these guys? Because these are all like pretty much middling guys. They're not like Tom Brady's. They're not like the Drew Brees. But we got Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, Carson Palmer, and Cam Newton. Who do you like the rest of the year? Who's the worst guy out of this bunch?
I think unquestionably the worst guy is going to be Carson Palmer, just based on the age of his supporting cast. And himself. I don't think they're going to be a sustainable offense. I think they will have weekly highs like they did this week, but I don't see him being a consistent option. My favorite option here is going to be Deshaun Watson, but I still think I still think people are overlooking Kirk Cousins. I agree. Even with Watson there, I think Kirk is the number 1 option in this group.
I completely agree. I think Chris Thompson's having a remarkable year. He had over 100 yards again receiving, so it doesn't look like a fluke anymore, this guy. They have 2 tight ends, Vernon Davis, Jordan Reed, a couple of good options on the outside, even though Terrell Pryor's not really hitting it off well with him, but I agree. Kirk Cousins, I would take him over all those guys, and then Watson, then Wentz in that order probably.
All right,
same as me. Yeah, let's talk about running backs. Melvin, obviously. Melvin Gordon, a top 5 guy. Had a great week 6. One guy that we haven't said at all as a blue chip, and we pretty much haven't said his name in like 2 years, having a good game. Adrian Peterson on the Arizona Cardinals running back, new Cardinal, 26 rushes, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 25 standard points. No catches, but that was ridiculous. He looked powerful, fast. He was running over guys. He looked unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, am I crazy, or is he a running back 1 if this volume continues? He's always been a volume runner, and if he's going to get 26 carries a game, I think he's a running back 1. I think Arizona is really gearing up to make a run at the 2007 Super Bowl this year. They're just building up the geriatric league, just getting it going with the old guys.
Larry Fitz, Carson Palmer, Adrian Peterson, just break out the diapers, why don't you? I'm gonna say you're a little crazy. I don't think he's a running back 1. But I think he's a running back 2. The other thing you got to think about is like Tampa Bay's defense. They've been brutal this year.
Very true.
We were a little wrong on that in week 2 after they had a really good game and their defense played well, but they're getting stomped. The other thing is he's not going to catch anything. So PPR, bump him down a little bit. Andre Ellington only had 1 target, but here's the thing: that game flow, it's hard to say what the chicken or the egg. Like because they rushed it, they were ahead. Andre Ellington, they're usually in catch-up mode, this team.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much not going to run it past a certain point, and Andre Ellington's going to be on the field catching the ball. He had 9 catches 2 weeks each previous, so it's tough to say, but I think he's a running back 2. The guy that used to be on this team, Mark Ingram, 25 rushes, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 36 yards, so looks like a solid running back 2 now that Adrian Peterson's off the team.
Yeah, I like Ingram and Kamara as both weekly starters out of that Saints backfield.
I agree. Le'Veon Bell, nothing really needs to be said. 179 yards rushing,
God, so
unbelievable.
Good.
Top
he's
3
so
option.
Good.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. Leonard Fournette got hurt in that game, but again, 130 yards. Looks like a top top 10 option. He almost looks like a top 5 option at running back. He's getting a volume. He's getting a ton of volume.
Yeah, he looked great. But, one thing to kind of keep in mind is that a good portion of that yardage was on his first carry of the game, which is a 75-yard touchdown right out of the gate. So obviously, you don't want to take that away from him because he did it himself. But the rest of the game, the Rams kind of bottled him up a little bit. So with Blake Bortles failing to inspire any confidence at all, even in his own team, Fournette might have a couple tough weeks coming forward.
I agree. If you give him he got a 75-yard rush this week. Last week he got a 90-yard rush. So if he's going to get the volume there, he's going to break one off eventually. And he was one of the fastest. He had one of the fastest runs in the NFL last week with that 90-yard rush. So I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks one off. And then a couple of honorable mentions here. Jerick McKinnon, 1 rush TD, 1 pass TD, or pass catching TD. He looks like a high-end running back 2 right now. And Jordan Howard had 36 carries. Looks like a top 15 option here. Not like a running back 1 like you drafted him, but getting the steady work here. Wide receivers, just going to rattle them off. Antonio Brown, 155 yards. Larry Fitzgerald, 138. Golden Tate had 7 catches, 96 yards. And then a couple of guys that had 14 targets, Marvin Jones, Demaryius Thomas, and Jarvis Landry. Out of all these guys, obviously, Antonio Brown is a top 2 option, but you got Larry Fitz, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Demaryius Thomas, Jarvis Landry. Who do you like in a PPR league? Who do you like in a standard league the most this year?
In a PPR league, give me Larry Fitzgerald all day. He is just by far the most consistent guy there. You see that 10 catches on 11 targets. The guy doesn't drop any passes. And again, the old man's league over in Arizona where they have all the retirement homes. He's going to be a phenomenal PPR option week to week. Non-PPR, actually, like Golden Tate, his yards after catch ability is just unparalleled. He made an incredible play down the sideline to score his touchdown in this game. As long as he's not hurt, I think he's a pretty exciting option at the wide receiver 2 spot.
Yeah, I'll go Larry Fitz with both of those, PPR and non-PPR. It's a resurgent year. He's always had solid production if you look at his career every year, but this year it's no exception. I like Demaryius Thomas a lot too. He hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, so you start adding that into his game. Hopefully Simeon kind of figures that out and starts throwing the ball in the end zone. Thomas should be good, especially with Sanders a little hampered moving forward. Let's talk about tight ends. Gronk, 2 touchdowns against our hapless Jets. They're not hapless, but they're not great. Looks like the best option at tight end. And then Cameron Brate, 6 receptions, 76 yards, 1 touchdown on 8 targets. Looks like a tight end 1, honestly.
Yeah, we might have been wrong on this Tampa Bay tight end core. I think he's clearly the top option there ahead of O.J. Howard. And I think if it's not too late, either make a move for him or, hopefully pick him up off waivers if you have a league that is, has been asleep for the past 3 weeks. He's looking really solid going forward. Just at a very thin position. So yeah, definitely worth keeping in mind.
Another guy that you should be picking up like the same as Brate is Evan Engram. 5 receptions, 82 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. Looks like the best pass catching option for the New York Giants too. Little honorable mention: Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I think we said to pick him up 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
last week.
8 receptions, 46 yards, 1 touchdown on 11 targets. And if you look at the stupid game tape, it should have been 1 more with some stupid rule. They took it back. So it looks like honestly a low end tight end 1, a high end tight end 2. Looks like a good starter.
Yeah, again, an extremely thin position, you could do a lot worse than a 6'7" guy that's his quarterback's favorite target. So I would pick him up for sure.
Yeah, and McCown, like you said last week, likes those tight ends. So, all right, defenses and kickers. The Saints and the Lions had
never thought I'd say that.
90 points scored between them, and both defenses still managed to score. The Saints scored 32 points, and the Lions scored 16 points on defense.
Crazy, insanity.
I have no idea.
They helped absolutely no one in doing so.
That really helped no one. I don't think anyone started the Lions versus the Saints.
Yeah.
Or the Saints versus the Lions. No one did those. They
if you
had
did,
5 touchdowns
congratulations.
combined, the defenses. And then another one, Texans versus Cleveland. Kevin Hogan looked terrible through 3 picks. Yep. So the Texans look like a good defense. Rams at Jacksonville looked pretty good.
Got a kickoff return touchdown from Farrell Cooper. Really nice play.
Yep. Ravens versus Chicago had a really good game. 2 touchdowns as well. And then Will Lutz, kickers.
Kicker of the week. Will Lutz. Nice
7
job
extra
on those
points?
7 extra points. Willie Lutz, my man. Nice
Willie
job.
Lutz.
Really consistent.
Legend.
All right, so those are the guys, our blue chip guys that helped you win in week 6. We're going to look at the other side of the coin now, the guys, the duds that completely let you down. We're going to start with the quarterbacks. These two, you can't really blame them. Aaron Rodgers and Jameis Winston, they both got hurt, so they couldn't finish their games. I think Aaron Rodgers obviously is going to probably be out for the year. Jameis Winston maybe still QB1. And kind of in the same discussion, Derek Carr was not great this week in his first week back off of injury. And Matt Ryan continues to disappoint. He had only 1 touchdown and 1 pick. He's already thrown, I think, more picks than he did all of last year. So which of those 3, obviously Rodgers were kind of like crossing off, but out of Jameis, Derek Carr, and Matt Ryan, which one are you okay with having as your starter? Obviously, we're kind of worried about all 3.
Yeah, I would say Winston because it's just injury at this point, and he has a sprained AC joint, but he's day to day, and he should be back next week. I think he's going to throw later this week and should be fine for Sunday. All indications are. Matt Ryan has thrown 6 touchdowns, 6 picks this year, so he's been ineffective. He's been a QB2, honestly. Winston has had a couple of great games, and that team, honestly, for quarterbacks, like you want some garbage time every now and then.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's defense is brutal, whereas Atlanta's is okay. Derek Carr, he scares me. He had a broken back, and he came back, I think, too soon with 2 interceptions, and I wouldn't trust starting him, especially with Amari Cooper's issues and that team's issues. Marshawn Lynch hasn't really gotten it going at all, so I would take Winston. Best pass-catching options and moving forward.
Yeah, don't jump the gun on Amari Cooper. We're getting there. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I have another bone to pick with Amari Cooper. For me, I'd feel the most confident in Matt Ryan. I know Rob owns him in one of our leagues, so pay attention for the next
he
10
just
seconds.
Fucking screwed me over.
All he needs to do is chuck the ball in the general direction of Julio Jones. He's only targeting me, I think, seven times a game. Bump that up to like 14, and you're sitting pretty. So I think I'm most excited if I own Matt Ryan out of those 3. And now let's look at the running backs. Ty Montgomery, even in a game where his quarterback went down and you would think they'd lean on the run game, only had 10 rushes for 28 yards. Mike Gillislee, again, 10 rushes for 44 yards. That's not a bad yard per carry, but he's not getting enough volume, and he lost a fumble in this game. C.J. Anderson was terrible against the Giants. Elijah McGuire on the Jets, again, kind of a bench option guy. And Shane Vereen, you would think in a game where the game after the Giants lost their top 4 wide receivers, they would utilize their pass-catching running back. They didn't. He got 0 targets. He had 1 rush. I think he's droppable personally. Out of Montgomery, Gillislee, and Anderson, which one of those guys are you feeling good about?
Anderson, I guess.
That says it all.
The Gillislee sucks. Deion Lewis had more carries than him. Gillislee was in the dog. I was at that game, and he was in the doghouse as soon as he fumbled the ball. Belichick is benching those guys right away.
That scares me. That scares me.
And Deion Lewis got a goal line carry, so he probably scares me the most because Rex Burkhead is still out. So they have 4 running backs that are pretty viable now, and Gillislee is the most one-dimensional out of all of them, with the exception of James White, who's really much a pass catcher. So I think Gillislee is a flex guy at best. C.J. Anderson, it's really weird, but the Broncos, it's all about game flow with them. Devontae Booker is stealing some pass-catching looks here from Anderson, but he just needs volume. So when he does get the volume, he should be fine. Vereen, droppable. McGuire, droppable because Powell's coming back soon. And then Ty Montgomery. Aaron Jones looked really good the past 2 weeks, and this week did better than Montgomery. So I'm looking at Montgomery as like a flex guy, and I think Aaron Jones is also a flex guy, but better upside there.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely worried about Montgomery and Gillislee. I'm even worried about pass-catching guys that don't get enough looks, like Shane Vereen or even Andre Ellington, who we didn't mention yet. I think those guys scare me because you need the consistent looks week to week if you're going to be a pass-catching back. For that reason, I think C.J. Anderson is the guy I feel safest with here, just because it's very simple. When he plays well and gets a lot of looks, the Broncos are almost unbeatable.
Well.
Because when they get ahead of schedule on offense, they're a really good offense. They can utilize their weapons on the outside a little bit more. So I would look for C.J. Anderson to bounce back next week. Now let's get to our number one, I think, doghouse player of the year, wide receiver Amari Cooper. He had 6 targets, 5 catches, 28 yards, but honestly, one or two of those were drops that the other team just decided not to challenge. I don't know why. So I don't know what's going on with him. It's like the Monstars came in and like stole his ability to play football. It's like there's an Amari Cooper sized alien out there just like bawling out. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
Amari, if you're listening, you can talk to us. It's something
We're here
wrong.
for you.
Just tell us what's going on, and we'll be fine. We'll tell all of our listeners who are pissed off at us for pushing you so far. Oh God, I don't even know. He's just brutal. He looks like a rookie, honestly. But I think he's a flex guy at best.
Yeah, God, if that. I right now he's sitting on my bench. I own him in one league, and I have zero confidence. Who else? Devin Funchess, kind of a letdown after a couple of good weeks. But he did have 9 targets, so I think he's still like a high-end flex guy. Terrell Pryor, another letdown week, only had 3 catches for 23 yards in a game where Kirk Cousins went off. And then Martavis Bryant, really weird week, requested a trade apparently, and only had 2 catches for 27 yards. I don't know. This is a very, very disappointing group at the wide receiver position.
Apparently, Martavis Bryant requested a trade like weeks ago, and we're just I don't know. It just got announced this week. Whatever. Can we hold on? I'm sorry. I owned up to Eddie Lacy being the worst pick. Can you just say Martavis Bryant sucks this year? Can you just say it?
Oh God! All right,
please just say it. He had 3 targets, 2 for 27, with 0 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's not the same guy. Ben doesn't trust him anymore. I don't know how much of that is a function of him being out for a year and how much of it is just, like him not playing well. But I don't know. Martavis is tough to play week to week. If he does get traded, I think that changes his value a little bit because clearly there's something broken between him and Ben. But as long as he's a Steeler, I don't know. I'm not really feeling great about this guy.
If he gets to the Giants or like San Francisco, where he could be a deep threat and like the number one guy almost,
and get volume, yeah,
I agree. But I completely agree. Martavis Bryant has been brutal. Juju Smith-Schuster has been basically their number 2 guy behind Antonio Brown. So I don't even know what's going on with him, but I'm really, really glad that we were both wrong about something because Eddie Lacy, I owned up to it, and you're finally owning up to Martavis Bryant. But that's just my opinion. One thing about Terrell Pryor, too, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 23 yards. Again, brutal showing for him, and he just looks off with Kirk. The other guy, Josh Doxson, has been getting a couple of targets away from him, too. So I just think Terrell Pryor is a low-end flex guy at this point, and not feeling great about his value the rest of the year.
All right, now let's look at the tight ends that disappointed. Very thin position on the year, and it just continues with some of these guys. Martellus Bennett only had 4 targets. He's a little shakier now than he even was before Rodgers got hurt. David Njoku on the Browns had 5 targets, but only had 2 catches and no yards. Ed Dixon, after a really nice week last week, had 8 targets, but only had 4 catches. And Travis Kelce had another down week with 7 targets, and 4 catches for 37 yards. Obviously, I still feel great about Kelce as my starter, but I don't know. Each of the other 3 guys, I feel pretty shaky on.
Yeah, David Njoku had Kevin Hogan thrown it to him, and we thought he might have some value there, but 2 catches for 0 yards doesn't really instill confidence.
No.
And it kind of goes back to the rookie tight end thing that we were saying earlier in the season, during the season, that they really don't have a ton of value. I think Ed Dixon will be fine. Honestly, 8 targets, 4 for 36. That's okay. 8 targets is a lot for a tight end, and Greg Olsen is still out. So I feel good about him as a high-end tight end too. The other guys, Martellus Bennett hasn't been good all year. Hopefully Hundley throws it to him a little bit more, but tight end 2 otherwise for all of them, except for Kelce.
Yeah, on the play that Rodgers got hurt, actually, it just was a brutal drop by Martellus Bennett. So that play is just kind of sticking in my head. If he catches that, he's probably going 30 or 40 yards down the field, but brutal. Absolutely brutal. He hasn't been good at all this year.
No.
So, look, the tight end position is thin, so I understand if people have to roster these guys, but maybe take a shot on a guy like the next Austin Seferian-Jenkins if he's already picked up. Let's look at a couple defenses that let you down. The Cardinals against Tampa Bay. Ryan Fitzgerald is playing quarterback in this game. This guy wants to turn the ball over, yet the Cardinals only had 2 fantasy points. And then the Falcons against Jay Cutler, the inept Jay Cutler, only had 4 fantasy points. Both those defenses were surprisingly ineffective this week in week 6.
Fitzgerald? Ryan Fitzgerald?
Fitzpatrick, damn it.
Oh my God.
Larry Fitz is stuck in my head.
What an idiot. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I was just ready.
It's because Ryan Fitzpatrick's
so
dead to me after last year.
Yeah, those two defenses did not do well. We said Falcons were a streaming option, but Cutler looked like he kind of figured some stuff out, so who knows.
Yeah. And kicker, man. Only one really bad performance this week. Brandon McManus.
There were 2 bad ones.
The first one, Brandon McManus, Denver kicker. He was 1 for 3, had an extra point, and that brings his field goal totals to 8 of 13 on the year. That's not a good percentage at all, especially from a guy that is supposedly one of the top kickers in the league playing in altitude. Brutal start to the season for Brandon McManus.
Yeah, if you have him, I would honestly drop him for like a Harrison Butker on Kansas City, Cody Parkey on Miami. They're starting to put some things together. Any of those other guys, honestly, I would drop. I would drop McManus. Another guy I would drop is Steven Hauschka. He put up 0 points this week. The Buffalo kicker, and he just sucks. So you should.
What are you doing, man? What are you doing, Hauschka?
You put up 0 points, Hauschka? You suck.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by Steve Massachusetts for mayor. Get hammered. That's his slogan. All right, we got Steve here in the studio. He wants to give a pitch. Steve's from Boston, Massachusetts, and he wants to be mayor. Hey, how's it going? I'm Steve Massachusetts from Massachusetts, and I'm here to run for mayor. If you don't know where to park your car, get hammered instead. It's much better. You don't like the bars? Well, you could go home and get hammered. You don't like your government? Get hammered. I got all the solutions. Toilet's broken? Get hammered. Oh, you gotta get wicked fucking hammered, man. Just get hammered. What? Let's get hammered together. I'm Steve, Massachusetts. Get hammered. Steve, Massachusetts is sponsored by Alcoholics Anonymous. Hey, how much do I owe you for this ad? I'll get you hammered for free. I know the bartender's over here. I'll get hammered.
All right, let's talk about the waiver wire for Week 7 and on. So get these claims in Tuesday night. They go through Wednesday morning. Couple of guys that, and we're going to mention some guys that hopefully you've already picked up. There's a lot of news that happened last week with Ezekiel Elliott, with Adrian Peterson getting traded. So one guy for sure to pick up had an awesome Week 6. Orleans Darkwa, New York Giants running back, had 21 carries. Looks like the bell cow back there. He's a pretty straightforward runner. Doesn't really cut back and forth, which seems to suit that offense well. And that team looked good when they ran it a lot. So Orleans Darkwa, if you need some running back help, looks like a flex option moving forward.
Yeah, 2 guys.
Lord Farquaad?
Yeah. Lord Darkwa, exactly.
Lord Farquaad.
2 guys that
than him, though.
Should be in the running back 2 discussion that were on waivers as recently as last week. Adrian Peterson and Jerick McKinnon. If either of these guys are out there, they should be your number 1 priority this week. They both had really good Week 6s, and I think they're looking pretty good moving forward.
Yeah, and then big news, Ezekiel Elliott, so look this up on your own because no one really knows what's going on. But Ezekiel Elliott's suspension was upheld the other day. So he can still file in the New York court an injunction, which means it could delay it even further. So just be on the lookout for that legal news. But if all stands right now, he's suspended until basically Thanksgiving, their Thanksgiving Day game. So the backups there are Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden in 2015, 2 years ago, had 1,000 yards under that line. Didn't really play much last year and hasn't played at all this year. Alfred Morris, younger guy, with Washington, had a couple of great seasons. It's really a crapshoot choosing who's going to lead that backfield. My guess is McFadden's going to be the pass-catching back on third down, and Morris is going to be the goal line back and first and second down back. So I think Morris will have a little bit more value, but that's just my opinion at this point. Anyone that claims to know, they're full of shit. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Morris, for me, it would be like my slight favorite, but again, McFadden's been there longer, so we're not really sure how it's going to shake out. Another guy to keep in mind, we mentioned being wrong about Cameron Brate earlier in the podcast. I think we might have been wrong on Hunter Henry as well. I think Hunter Henry might be emerging as a tight end 1 for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's definitely worth an add, and I think I would plug him right into my lineups at a very thin position.
Yeah, and then Deion Lewis, another guy to pick up. Gillisley just looks inept right now. And Deion Lewis had a rushing touchdown, so that's one guy to keep in mind. 11 carries, 52 yards, a touchdown. Guys that are likely cuttable in redraft, so to pick those guys up, you got to cut some people. We're looking at Randall Cobb on the Green Bay Packers, Alan Hearns on the Jacksonville Jaguars, Kendall Wright on the Chicago Bears, Shane Vereen on the Giants, maybe Ellington, but I would hold on to Ellington. I
think Ellington's droppable in a standard league. In a PPR, yes. I would hang on to him.
Exactly. Yep. PPR, he's going to get a ton of catches regardless. That was an outlier week 6. All right, let's talk about buy low, sell high. So we're just going to mention a couple of guys. Sean, you want to go into your buy low option, your number 1 option right now?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier how all Matt Ryan needs to do to get himself going is throw the ball to Julio Jones more. He's only given him 7 targets per game, so I think for that reason alone, Julio Jones is my buy low target for this week. Obviously, it's not super low because he's likely a top 5 overall pick in your draft, but I think it's worth the price to go up and see what it's going to take to get a guy like Julio Jones. I think a big second half of the year is coming for this guy.
Yeah, and then my number 1 guy is Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans running back. He had 10 carries, but he's also the pass-catching back there. Mark Ingram had a fantastic game without Adrian Peterson, but it's going to be a kind of a timeshare. I think Ingram will get most of the looks, but Kamara is going to be on the field in third down. Seems to be the better pass catcher out of the two, and obviously the younger legs. So he's my number 1 guy. I think one guy we could both agree on that's a buy low guy is Tevin Coleman. He got the same amount of carries as Devontae Freeman. Got a touchdown too, so a little bit more of a split than people might realize. But Coleman is a great option in PPR, probably a low end running back 2 or high end flex.
Yeah, I completely agree. One more thing just to keep in mind, we're not going to go into too much of the stats, but I think any of the Vikings pass catchers, so that's Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, or Kyle Rudolph, I would try to get any of these guys because the Vikings are so deep at quarterback that it's not going to matter who's starting for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Sell high targets. So Will Fuller is my number 1 sell high. He has 5 touchdowns in 3 games, only 5 targets this week. And he had a touchdown, two receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown off 5 targets. He had 3 targets the week before that in week 5 with 2 touchdowns. So that's unsustainable. You got to think Martavis Bryant circa 2014 when he had 26 catches and 8 touchdowns that year. This is a very similar situation. So I think someone could bite on that who's wide receiver needy. And if you can get Will Fuller for an Alvin Kamara, I would do that in a second.
Yeah, I think just based on how successful Watson has been going to Fuller, I think teams are going to have no choice but to slide their safety over to help on that side. I see the balance of targets and touchdowns and overall production shifting more towards DeAndre Hopkins as opposed to Will Fuller moving forwards. So I definitely am on board with that. One guy that I'm not really sure about, I'm kind of just bringing up because I think he's going to be a popular sell high target this week. What do you think about Adrian Peterson moving forward?
Yeah, that's a good. We mentioned it before. It's tough to see because he didn't catch the ball once, obviously, but he didn't need to. That team was up the whole time, and they were playing against Tampa Bay, whose defense is brutal. So Tampa Bay was the one playing catch up, whereas Arizona usually does that. You can make a case to sell him high. I don't think he's going to get 2 touchdowns in a game again, but he looked really good. The other thing to consider is David Johnson is probably going to come back this year, so this is just like a loner. But I would still hold on to him. I think he's a running back 2 the rest of the year. You could sell him high for someone that thinks he's a running back 1, and maybe get like a Doug Baldwin. You could buy low on a Doug Baldwin and a Joe Mixon or something like that. But I would still keep him, honestly, for now. All right, let's get into our favorite segment. There's a couple of segments that I like and that we like, but this one's a staple now. Week 7.
This one's going to be good.
Would you rather? So we're going to talk about each position. There's good, moderate, and bad matchups in each of those. We're going to choose between 2 options in each. And then there's going to be a little special one at the end of each position group that Rob will narrate for us. But First, before we start, teams on bye this week, the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. So get those out of your lineup for week 7. Let's get into it. Quarterbacks. You ready, Sean?
Yep.
Porn Brady, you ready? All right. Good matchup for week 7. Dak Prescott at San Francisco or Matt Ryan at New England?
Give me Matt Ryan at New England just based on the fact that Josh McCown just put up 20 fantasy points on the Patriots. I think Matt Ryan's due for a bounce back.
Yeah, I'll take Matt Ryan at New England. New England's a sieve at defense. Moderate matchup. Kirk Cousins at Philly or Carson Wentz versus Washington. These guys are playing each other, if you didn't pick up on that.
So it's basically which team is probably going to have a better game. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. I think I really think Washington is better than people realize, and I think they're going to give Philly a really good game this week. I think Kirk will outscore Carson Wentz.
I'm going to go Carson Wentz because it looks like Josh Norman's still out with broken ribs. So Alshon Jeffrey hopefully will get free a little bit. Aguilar has been looking good. Zach Ertz has been a staple there. So I'll take Wentz. I think he's good for another 3 touchdowns. But I think both these guys are going to do well. Bad matchup, Andy Dalton versus Pittsburgh or Phillip Rivers versus Denver.
Oh, man. Pittsburgh has been sneaky good on D. Just watching their game against the Chiefs this past week, their zone defense is just extremely frustrating. I can't see Andy Dalton cracking that. So I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers, even though he's got a brutal matchup against Denver.
I'm going to say Rivers versus Denver because Eli Manning had a serviceable game, but has no pass catchers. Phillip Rivers has Mike Williams back hopefully soon. I think he was back actually week 6, Mike Williams, their first-round pick. So he has a lot of options. Hunter Henry's been coming on, so I'll take Phillip Rivers versus Denver.
All right, and the wild card. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Would you rather take a bath in caramel or sit in a sauna that vaporizes reused sweat?
Oh my god, I'm extremely confused by the second option. So I'm going to go with the caramel bath just because I understand it more.
A regular sauna would vaporize water into the sauna, right? Oh no, was that a steam shower? What is that called? What the fuck is that called?
I don't know. The steam room and a sauna are different.
Sauna is a dry one. A steam room has so a steam room that uses reused sweat. It vaporizes reused sweat.
That is so disgusting. I'm going bath and caramel. Oh god, that's gross too.
Imagine the cleanup though.
Yeah, but can I take a bath, a regular bath, or a shower after that bath in the caramel? Caramel?
Yeah, but imagine trying to get caramel off in the shower.
Oh my god.
You can pour water on it, but it's just not going to come off.
You really can't it's going to dry up too if you don't get in the shower immediately.
Yeah, you're going to have to take the hottest shower you've ever taken in your life.
Yeah, but that's not your sweat that's being vaporized, right? It's someone else's.
It's probably some fat dudes.
No, it's just a collection of sweat. It could be from millions of people.
I'm just picturing some fat, hairy dude in the gym that is in the sauna or steam room and I'm just involuntarily it's on. No.
You'd be breathing in people's sweat vapor. That's just
you're tasting it, basically.
I think we pretty much know the verdict on this one.
That's disgusting. Yeah, good one. Good one. What are you taking, Rob? Caramel?
I'm definitely going caramel. I want to be sweet.
All right, way to make it weird. Running backs. Good matchup. Just a preface for this. Is that a word? Whatever. These guys are all flex guys that we picked. Basically, low end running back 2s or flex guys now at this point in the season. So that's something to mention. The studs, you're going to play the studs regardless of matchup. But these guys, running backs, good matchup. Tevin Coleman at New England or Duke Johnson versus Tennessee.
Kind of sticking with my theme, I'm going to go with the Falcons against New England. I think they're going to light them up. And I think Tevin Coleman, again, as we mentioned before, is in more of a timeshare than people realized coming into the year. With Devontae Freeman, I think he'll have a nice week 7.
I'm going to go Duke Johnson versus Tennessee. He had a bit of an off week, but the Browns looked off with Kevin Hogan. Hopefully they make the change back to Deshaun Kaiser when they're playing Tennessee. But you saw Marlon Mack on Monday night have some sneaky value versus Tennessee, and Frank Gore, I liken Duke Johnson to Marlon Mack a little bit more than Frank Gore. Frank Gore isn't as fast as he used to be, so I'll take Duke. Especially in PPR, these guys are both good options. I would bump them both up, moderate matchup, Mark Ingram at Green Bay or Jerick McKinnon versus Baltimore.
I have a feeling that Ingram's going to be less effective this week than he was last week. I think Kamara's going to have a better game, especially because Kamara can kind of stay away from Mike Daniels on the Green Bay defensive line. So I'm going to go with Jerick McKinnon against Baltimore. I think the Vikings are just a better team than Baltimore, so I can see McKinnon having another good game this week.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to go Jerick McKinnon too. Latavius Murray, who's behind Jerick McKinnon now at this point, is
Jerk
way
McChicken.
less. Jerk McChicken. Yeah, sorry. Got to keep on saying that. Is way less effective than Alvin Kamara is, who's Mark Ingram's backup.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take. Yeah, I would rather have. I would rather have Mark Ingram over Kamara, but I would rather have McKinnon over both of those guys. All right, bad matchup. Orleans Darkwa, or Lord Farquaad, if you will, versus Seattle, or Marshawn Lynch versus Kansas City.
I think Darkwa is kind of banged up, and even if he wasn't, I think I'm still going to go with Lynch. I just think the volume is obviously not great, but I think I don't know. I could see this team being a lot more committed to Lynch, the Raiders being more committed to Lynch than the Giants are to Darkwa. I think it's really just if Gallman plays well for the Giants, he'll take over that backfield. So I think Lynch is just a safer option.
I honestly might go Darkwa because
you hate Lynch. Because you just hate Lynch, that's why.
Orleans Dorkwa. Lord Dorkwa. Oh my God, that's awesome. Seattle has a really good rush defense with Sheldon Richardson. You're seeing him have some value in the middle there. But Marshawn Lynch has put up some terrible games. 6 for 18 one game, 9 for 12 another game. So, and he's playing Kansas City. Derek Carr is still a little hampered, so that passing game is still, not as good, which means the running game doesn't have as much room. But I'll take Darkwa actually, high end flex at this point.
All right, and wild card. Would you rather spend a day with your underwear full of sand or spend a day with your underwear sopping wet?
Oh, man. What is it wet with? Do you pee your pants?
It could be anything.
Like water?
I guess it's your preference.
I'm going to go
I don't know
with
what
just
you
water.
prefer your underwear to be wet with.
Can we just say water? Or
Yeah, sure. It could be water.
I'm going to go sand because that just sounds so bad.
Dude.
No, I'm going sopping wet. No question.
You can't go with sand. Are you kidding
question.
me?
Not even close.
You're gonna grind your
Hold on. Let me just play this out for
off.
you. No, let me play it out here. Your underwear is sopping wet, and you're going to sit all day in pants and walk around in public with a sopping wet pair of underwear that looks like
better
you pee
than
your pants.
rocks grinding against your
They're not rocks.
genitals.
It's sand. They're minuscule rocks. It's fucking sand. You've gone to the beach before. It's not horrible. I'd rather do that.
It is horrible.
Even if you get a little bit of sand in your bathing suit at the beach, it's a bad day.
I agree.
Did you
I'm with
go to
Rob
the
on
beach
this one.
recently? Because these both happen to you at the beach.
No.
You get soaked and you get sand in your.
Yeah, and when you leave the beach, I can't stand having any sand in my underwear, but I can stand them being wet because that's just what happens when you go to the beach. It's much more
So you're gonna
tolerable.
spend a full day in it, at work and at school and around people.
Yes.
I'm
really
with Rob on
weird.
this one.
All right, go ahead. Teach his own. It's really
sopping
weird.
wet for sure.
All right. Anyway, wide receiver. I was trying to think of transition, but I couldn't with that. Both of these guys have good matchups. They're not going to be on a cornerback island that's full of sand. That's okay. Nice. That's an okay one, right? All right.
That's pretty good.
Wide receiver, good matchups. Des Bryant at San Francisco or Jordy Nelson versus New Orleans.
I'll take Dez. I think obviously I picked against Dak to just, in the quarterback good matchup. But I think, Dallas is still going to have a relatively good game, especially they might have to lean on the pass a little bit more. I think Dez is in for a nice game against San Francisco.
Yeah, we were just talking about how Jordy is going to take the biggest hit with the change to Brett Hundley. But I'm just going to say Jordy, just in terms of sheer volume, I think this is going to be a shootout. You just saw New Orleans and Lions put up 90 points. A lot of it was defensive, but I think New Orleans is going to get up early in this game, and then Brett Hundley's going to have to throw it a ton, and he's going to rely on Jordy. And Des Bryant hasn't put up over 100 yards this year yet, which scares me. Moderate matchup, Doug Baldwin versus New York Giants or Kelvin Benjamin at Chicago.
Even with Janoris Jenkins probably shadowing, I'm going to go with Doug Baldwin. I think Seattle's is due for a nice game coming off their bye week.
Baldwin had 35 yards before his bye week, and hasn't looked like the same player. He's projected like 900 yards and 3 touchdowns right now. And you've been saying that the Seattle Seahawks are going to put it together, but
it's coming.
The Panthers have been putting it together, and Kelvin Benjamin's a big reason for that. At Chicago, I'll take him. Bad matchup, Keenan Allen versus Denver or T.Y. Hilton versus Jacksonville.
This is tough. These are two really tough cornerback tandems on both these defenses. I'm just going to go with Keenan Allen just because his quarterback is better than T.Y. Hilton's. And we saw Keenan Allen, break free for a touchdown in week 1 against Denver. So just based on, his higher floor, I would go with Allen here.
Yeah, Jacksonville has A.J. Bouye and the other guy? Jalen Ramsey, yeah. And the quarterback rating against the two of them is horrible. And especially if they have Jacoby Brissett starting still, I think T.Y. Hilton's going to get bottled up. So I'll go Keenan Allen too, even though it's a bad matchup.
All right, and the wild card. Would you rather have to high-five everyone you talk to or have to respond to everyone starting with, ha-ha, definitely, definitely? Every time somebody says something, ha-ha, definitely, definitely.
That's not just the start of the conversation or
every
sentence
you say? Every sentence or just a convo starter?
Every single sentence.
That's so annoying. Oh my God.
Definitely.
I'm gonna go high five because I don't mind high fives. Even honestly, the embarrassment of missing a high five, like whiffing one, is so bad. But I'd rather take that chance and do high fives than say, "Ha, definitely."
Yeah, I mean, Scott, it's really simple. You just line up the elbows and then extend the arm.
You, Sean.
It's very, very simple. So I'm not worried about missing high fives. So I'm gonna go with the first option. I'm gonna go high five everyone I talk to. Basically, just replace your handshake with a high five, and you're good to go.
Oh,
yeah, but what if you run into somebody that you just shouldn't be high-fiving?
Oh.
It would just get exhausting saying, haha, definitely every single sentence. It would just get so exhausting.
Oh, God. That sounds so bad. Yeah, with my job, I can't do that either.
It's going to be embarrassing either way, but I think high-fiving is probably the way to go.
You imagine me talking to my clients and saying, haha, definitely, every single time they say something. Hey, we're not gonna sponsor jobs. Haha, definitely. Hey, stop calling me. Haha, definitely.
So what are my options? Haha, definitely. You're gonna have there's a medium, large, and small.
Definitely.
Why in that order? I don't know. Let's move on.
All right, tight ends. Good matchups. Hunter Henry versus Denver or Austin Hooper at New England.
Yeah, Denver's kind of like surprisingly not great against tight ends. We just saw Evan Ingram have a really good game against them. I'm going to go with Hunter Henry this week.
Yeah, same thing. Nothing else to be said there. Austin Hooper could put up a stinker like he has this year. Moderate, Evan Ingram versus Seattle or Austin Seferian-Jenkins at Miami.
Ooh, this is tough. The New York tight ends, both surprisingly good this year. I'm going to go with ASJ. He's just looked really good the last 2 weeks.
I'm going to go Ingram just because he's the only pass-catching guy there. It's ridiculous. Bad matchup, Cameron Brate at Buffalo or Kyle Rudolph versus Baltimore.
Similar to what I said with Henry and what we've been talking about, I think Cameron Brate is really coming on, and I think I'm going to go with him despite a tough matchup at Buffalo.
I'm going to go Kyle Rudolph versus Baltimore because Diggs might be out again, and that's the only reason.
All right,
I have no other good reason.
Not much to add about tight ends.
I just blanked for a second, to be honest. So I forgot.
And the wild card. This is a big one.
Lock in, Scott. Lock in.
Would you rather use Bing?
Nope.
Or lose access to Google forever, but Bing gets erased from the internet?
Oh my God.
So you lose access to Google forever and Bing gets erased from the internet. That's one thing. Or
yes,
you have to use Bing.
Yeah, you either have to use Bing and you can't use Google, or you can't use Google, but Bing gets erased from the internet.
Oh my God, there's so much.
So it depends how spiteful you are. This is really a measure of your spitefulness as a human being. Do you want to make everyone else lose Google just so you can get rid of Bing?
When it comes to Bing, I get very petty.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna use Bing.
I feel that too. But then everyone can't use Google.
There's no fucking way I'm using Bing. No matter the circumstance.
You really don't like it. Why don't you like it that much?
It's brutal.
It's a piece of shit.
It is brutal.
It's a real piece of shit.
Is there a third party here that would get us by if we pick the second option? I don't even know at this
Yahoo?
point. Yahoo?
Yeah,
maybe?
there is. There actually is. Have you ever heard of DuckDuckGo?
No, I haven't.
It sounds
I feel like you're making that
DuckDuckGo
up.
is another search engine.
You're making that up. There's no way it's real.
I'm not making it up. It's
if
real.
you're listening at home, do not look that up. That
I feel like
sounds
it's going to infect
sketchy
my
as
computer
fuck.
with a virus if I look this up.
Yeah, well, you would know, Porn Brady.
Got him.
That was the Russians, all right? I have to take it easy.
Yeah, of course it was. Blame it on the
I'm
Russians.
going to install Bing on all. Oh, it's a search engine. Oh my god!
I told
Oh,
you.
shit. Is it a Russian search?
I like the logo. I'm going with the second option. DuckDuckGo. Are they
Alright,
sponsoring us? They should sponsor us. If
They
we're gonna
should
do something like this.
sponsor us.
Let's put a call in.
DuckDuckGo, if you want to sponsor, you got one. Well, you just got one right now, but you're going to have to pay for that.
Hey, really quick, some streaming defenses for Week 7. Titans at Cleveland, if Kevin Hogan is starting, even if Kaiser's starting, and the Panthers versus Chicago. Luke Kuechly might be out.
Yeah, even with Kuechly out, I still like the Panthers this week. Mitch Trubisky is kind of notice how I said Mitch, not Mitchell. He's still going to turn the ball over. He looked honestly pretty good, but still. The Panthers have been a really solid defense of late, and I think that continues.
A couple of kickers. We didn't mention this before, but Jake Elliott on Philly who has gotten double-digit points in standard leagues 4 weeks in a row. And your guy, Harrison Butker. Rob, your boy, Harrison Butker. He's on Kansas City now. Is crushing it. Butt kicker. Butt munch.
Yeah, well, he can
pick them
go
both up.
screw himself. He's
Yeah.
long gone off my roster. I'm never gonna,
he is
I don't
your
wanna
Stephen
look
Hauschka.
at him ever again. He ruined me.
Jeez.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by Hinder. Hinder's a dating app for the emotionally unavailable. It's great for millennials and people who are addicted to their phones, who just don't really want to put in the effort and need the emotional distance from the people they love. Now, you can use Hinder anytime, but it only lets you send one message per week. Let's drop in real quick on a conversation happening on Hinder right now. Sorry, busy week. Had a lot of meetings and stuff. I'll get back to you later. Hinder. Build a brick wall around your heart.
All right, let's get into our last segment called Hail Mary, Fail Mary. So we started this last week. Thanks, shout out again to Dan Rustico, friend of the pod, and you, Rob. Sorry, you said this weeks ago, apparently. Yeah, I apologize for being such a dick last week. All right, Week 7. So basically 2 segments. Hail Mary. These are guys that we're just throwing a dart at the dartboard here. Probably won't be started by pretty much anyone, but if they hit it, they could hit it pretty big. And then we're going to talk about Fail Mary, so guys that are projected to score a lot, but that we think will flop. So, Hail Mary, position by position. What do you got, Sean? Week 7.
Just to start, I was a little off my game last week. Marquise Goodwin didn't do anything against Washington, which is pretty brutal, and Mitch Trubisky looked terrible. So hopefully week 2 of the Hail Mary segment goes a little bit better for me. I'm going to start with quarterback C.J. Beathard against Dallas, another rookie quarterback, which is a risky strategy, but Dallas has been awful against the pass this year, and C.J. Beathard, when he came in for Brian Hoyer, used Carlos Hyde effectively in the passing game. And I think just based on volume, I think they're going to be playing catch-up against the bad pass defense. I think he might be worth a very deep league play this week, and could be a nice surprise. As far as running backs, Alex Collins, the Baltimore Ravens running back at Minnesota, this guy's quietly having a 6.4 yards per carry season and is getting a decent amount of work. I think it's only a matter of time before this guy just emerges as the true between the tackles runner. Obviously, Javorius Allen is still a factor there, but Alex Collins, worth a pickup, and he's probably my number one Hail Mary play for Week 7. As far as wide receivers, Taylor Gabriel might go off against the Patriots. This is the exact type of guy that gives the New England defense fits. We saw the Panthers exploit them with guys that are nowhere near the caliber of Taylor Gabriel, who's just extremely fast. So he could have a really big week. And lastly, tight end, I think Zach Miller obviously caught a touchdown from, I think, Tariq Cohen this week, but he's had a touchdown in the last 2 games with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. And, he's looking like a nice tight end 2 and, definitely a nice option if you have nowhere else to go at the tight end position.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Yeah, I didn't do well with Hail Mary last week. Roger Lewis sucked, but whatever. That's the whole purpose. It's a Hail Mary. Like, they're probably not going to do well, but if they do, we'll give you the reasons why they would. Quarterback Brett Hundley on Green Bay versus New Orleans. This is just a volume thing here. I think New Orleans is going to go up early in that game, and then it's just going to be he's going to throw it a ton. I don't believe in the Saints defense. I think that was a wonky week where they got 3 interceptions of Stafford. So Brett Hundley versus New Orleans could be a deep league, like 2 QB league dart throw here. Running back Chris Ivory, the Jacksonville Jaguars running back at Indianapolis. Fournette got hurt last week, and Ivory was the guy that stepped in and actually caught a lot of balls, which is kind of weird. That's not really his MO, but this is kind of contingent on Fournette's injury. Even if he's not completely injured, he still got hampered last week, so they might give the ball to Ivory. This is my thinking here, a little bit more. Wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster on Pittsburgh. So Cincinnati, they really only have one solid cornerback right now. Martavis Bryant just requested to get traded, so Juju Smith-Schuster looks like the number 2 guy anyway, up until that point. So I'll throw a dart at that dartboard. And tight end George Kittle on San Francisco, Jesus, versus Dallas. He's getting targeted a ton. He's a safety valve for CJ Beathard. However you say, what is it?
Beathard. Get used to it. He's going to be a star. Not really,
yeah.
But
okay. Good luck with that. George Kittle, tight end on San Francisco.
Yeah, looking at the other side of things, as far as the Hail Marys, I guess I was 1-0 last week. Brady didn't hit 20 like he was projected. He also didn't hit 12 like I said, just somewhat in the middle. But he wasn't quite himself. So I'm going to chalk that up as a W for my own Hail Mary column. And we're going to continue with each position this week. Quarterback Derek Carr against Kansas City. I just see Kansas City dominating this game. I don't think Derek Carr and the Raiders get anything going. So I think he's, definitely a guy that I would think about benching if I had him on my team. At the running back spot, Ty Montgomery, disappointed once Rodgers went out last week, and even with a nice, tasty matchup against New Orleans, I don't see him really being, a top 20 running back. I think Aaron Jones might have a better week than him this week. Wide receiver, this is a tough one. This is tough to type out there because he's the kind of guy that scares me when I play against him. But I think AJ Green's in for a quiet week against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh plays this really good brand of zone pass defense where they kind of just don't let anything go over their heads. And I think AJ Green's going to have to fight for every yard he gets against that Pittsburgh defense. I think if another factor, if Mike Mitchell, the Pittsburgh safety, is not suspended, which he should be, this guy is just a headhunter. He might try to injure AJ Green, and that's not what you want when you put your number 1 wide receiver out there. And then tight end Jimmy Graham, he's been really ineffective this year, so it's not necessarily a Hail Mary, but I don't see him breaking out against the Giants. I think Doug Baldwin and the rest of those wide receivers will be how Russell Wilson attacks the Giants defense this week.
Nice. All right, my Hail Mary, I think I said Mike Evans last week, and he had 3 receptions, 95 yards, a touchdown. But the touchdown was like a 40-yarder, and it was kind of in garbage time, so I'll still chalk it up to an L for me. That's still an L. However, if he didn't have that garbage time touchdown, I would have been correct. Yeah, but whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was still wrong. All right, Hail Mary week 7 for me. Quarterback Cam Newton at Chicago. Chicago plays this. It's just playing ball control through and through. Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard rushed 36 times last week. They're trying to keep the ball out of Trubisky's hands. Mitch the bitch. Cam Newton had 3 interceptions last week. If he didn't have that rushing touchdown, he would have had a terrible game. And honestly, I think the way Chicago plays, they have a chance to get ahead in this game. And then Carolina's going to be playing catch up. And when they put it in Cam Newton's throwing arm, like you saw last week, 3 interceptions. So he's my Hail Mary quarterback. Running back Mark Ingram at Green Bay. Again, this is game flow. They might be up in this game because of Hundley. But he's still in a timeshare. Alvin Kamara is still there, and he got a ton of carries and catches too. So I could see Mark Ingram doing a lot worse than last week at Green Bay, who has a pretty good rush defense. Michael Crabtree versus Kansas City. Marcus Peters on Kansas City. The cornerback will probably be on him because of Amari Cooper's inefficiencies this year. And Crabtree's gotten pretty much in every game he's played in full, he's gotten 6 catches each game, and anywhere between 55 and 85 yards. So he's been the mark of consistency, but Marcus Peters might be the guy that breaks that streak. And then tight end, Jordan Reed at Philadelphia. He's just not as effective as a player as he used to be. He looks hampered by injuries, and I feel bad for the guy because he's always injured, but he just doesn't look like the explosive guy a couple of years ago that we saw. And Philadelphia is incredible versus tight ends dating back to like last year. So I think he's my Hail Mary for tight ends for week 7. All right, that does it for week 6 recap, week 7 preview. As always, like us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at UnqualifiedFF. Leave us a review on iTunes. We're also on iHeartRadio, which is pretty sick. So
yeah,
subscribe.
You can ask Alexa to play us. You can ask.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So subscribe, listen to the episodes, review them, all of that.
Be on the lookout for our poll on Thursday about the Thursday night game. I think this week when we have Kansas City at Oakland, it might just feature Kansas City players as the most likely to break out. So we'll see what happens with that.
Well, see you later.
See you later.
Oh, see you.
Big gulps.